Hi everybody, this is Professor Tannenbaum. Today we're going to be taking a quick look at the sections in a scholarly research article. Now, depending on which journal an article is published in, you may find that the article is formatted slightly differently or sections are labeled slightly differently. But generally speaking, you're going to find the same sections in every research article in psychology as well as other scientific fields. Scientific articles are almost always going to start with an abstract, which is a one-paragraph summary. So here we have an example of one from a psychology journal. This is the author telling you what they think are the highlights from their article. Obviously, you don't want to rely solely on this, but it does give you a good overview. And I always recommend that you read this before you jump into the article itself, because this gives you a sense of where we're going with all this and what you should be looking for. The meat of the article itself is going to begin with the introduction. Basically, this is the authors telling you what they did and why you should care. What important question are they asking, or what problem are they trying to solve? How does their research build on what's been done before, and what are they expecting to find and why? From here, they're going to tell you how they got their data. So who was in their study? What tests or surveys did they use? Is there anything else that you need to know about the equipment or about what they actually asked their participants to do? Next, we go to the results, which is the details of the statistical analysis. Now, in this course, I am assuming you do not have a background in statistics, and so I am not expecting you to understand all of the jargon and all of the symbols that they are using. So you may find, for example, something that looks like this. In intro psychology, we both know that you have not learned what F values are, or P values, or beta values, and that's okay. I do want you to still read this section because you can look for the parts that are explaining the results in words, but you don't have to worry about the statistics. If you see a chart like this one, again, don't worry about it. I'm not expecting you to be able to interpret something like this. The only statistics that you do need to be able to understand in this class are correlations, mean, and median. The last section in the meat of the article is the discussion. This is where the researchers are going to wrap everything up. They're going to remind you of what they found and then also discuss the implications. Why should we care what they found? What can we do with this information? And because science is always an iterative process, they're generally going to end by telling you about some of the limitations of their research, because every study has limitations, no matter how well designed it is. And they will also often make suggestions for future research. So there you have it, the meat of the article, the abstract, introduction, methods, results, and discussion. You are going to find some other stuff in the article that you do not need to worry about for this assignment. When you are summarizing the article, you don't need to include the author's names, their institutional affiliations, publication data, that sort of thing. In any summary, but especially in an infographic, you've got limited space and you want to focus on the information that is most relevant to helping your reader understand the research. In other words, they need to know what happened, what it means, and why they should care. So that's it. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.